SX workers at Reddit, what is the funnest thing a client has ever asked you to do? A guy used to pay me to watch me get professional massages. That's it. Nothing else at all. The masseurs would come to the house and the client would sit in the corner and watch. He wouldn't even touch himself. It was amazing. Best gig ever. I miss it sometimes. I have a guy who comes to my place. Licks my toes for like 20 seconds. Comes everywhere and then immediately leaves. Not me but a friend. She is a professional cuddler, 160. 00/HR, that has a man that pays her to come to his home office on Mondays while he makes his cold calls for the week. She sits behind him and holds him all cuddly like the whole hour. She comes every week and his sales have gone through the roof. He told her he used to dread this part of the job and was full of anxiety before she started coming. Hog tie him and ignore him for 2 hours. Easiest money I've ever made. I have a regular with a Mickey Donald roleplay fetish. Girl I knew in college briefly did Craigslist personals for extra cash. Said she had one guy that had her come over and just play video games with him all night. Super sweet guy apparently. Even decently attractive. She always wondered why he couldn't just get a girlfriend. Absolutely nothing else at all. They'd just play Xbox. Smoke weed. Order pizza. And she got paid for it. My guess was that he was in a relationship that ended and he just wanted some company. Maybe him and his ex would play video games together and he just missed the companionship. Which I totally get. After my last big breakup I really wasn't looking for SX or a girlfriend at all. I'd have much rather just had someone hang out with me and make me forget I was sad for a little while. Stripped through undergrad. I had one customer who found out I did martial arts. And he booked the VIP room just so we could wrestle BJJ style. I had another regular who had a tickle fetish. We all called him Elmo. And Elmo would book 3 girls for an hour. Take a 10 or so minute break. And do it all again 3 or 4 times. You got to take your click clacks off. Put your comfy shirt on over your lingerie. And tickle him. That was it. Elmo was the best and easiest money I'd ever made. My roommate is an escort. She once had a guy pay her to pretend to rub pink insulation on her and say I'm so itchy while the guy jerked off. There is an older lady in our congregation who did cage dancing and all sorts of other interesting jobs for money back in the 60s and 70s. Her funniest story about her previous line of work was about people who had diaper fetishes. She said they would often just ask her to put adult-sized diapers on and roll around and act like a baby. One of the guys was the owner of one of the banks in the city. She said she just started laughing when she saw him and couldn't stop and had to leave if he was there. In our congregation. Did cage dancing. Curious how this topic got brought up at the church luncheon. I work at a night bar as a stripper. A customer booked me for a private room. And while I was getting near him, he asked me timidly if he could slap my forehead. At first, I was surprised. But since it is the forehead, I decided to forget the no touch rule. Strangest night of my life. I'm not a SX worker but one friend I had was. She had a web show and someone just wanted her to grate cheese. She grated cheese for like 45 minutes. Edit. She took breaks as her boyfriend had to buy more cheese. The total time on cam was likely double or triple the cheese grating time. She went through a massive amount of cheese. I don't remember how many but the cheese took up all the room in the fridge, or so her boyfriend said. We feel out of contact in my early 20s but she encouraged me to become a male cam model, around 18-19. As I was different and the lack of alternative male models left a massive vacuum and I could have cleaned up. I never followed through. Yo. Could I pay a SX worker to just let me lie my head in their lap while they run their finger through my hair like my mama used to do? Unsolid detected. That's extra the second you say mommy. At first I thought this said funniest and I was about to prepare a whole different couple stories. Most fun I would say was a client who would book me to play strip board games with him. I'm a huge nerd. So I had a blast being paid big bucks to spend an hour playing a game. I also had a fetish client who wanted me to waterboard him in my toilet. I thought I'd be skeeved out by it, but it was actually really fun. Generally, I was never into dom stuff in a kinky way, but I always got a kick out of it. I had one client who came just from being whipped, and I didn't have to do anything but that. I always enjoyed seeing him. Better than therapy. All of my work friends who have had clients who are into sploshing say it's the most fun type of session. But I've never gotten the chance to see for myself. My friend was a phone sex operator and had a guy that wanted her to giggle for like an hour. She watched cat memes. I did a sploshing session once where my codom slammed the client's head into a cake and then made him smear the cake all over my naked body. Then he had me with a strap on, his dick tucked away. I got to electrocute him with a violet wand and kick him in the balls a few times while he hoovered up the cake crumbs on his hands and knees whilst snorting like a pig wearing a maid outfit. Easy $1,000. Sometimes I miss that work. Sploshing booking. I ground a sponge cake into this guy's face with my ass while pouring custard on his dick and jerking him off. Before doing body slides with custard all over us. Neither of us could stand on the tiled floor afterwards because we'd covered it with so much slippery food. Can you pay for a sex worker to just hang out? No nudity. No weird. No touching. Just doing normal stuff? I'm an escort and I get this request pretty frequently. It's reasonably common and most of us are perfectly happy to do it. Just hang out. Maybe in public. Maybe at your place or mine. Go see a movie or go to the zoo or something. Or stay in and play video games or something. Yeah. That's a pretty normal request. A lot of our job is basically just being a therapist, except we're not LCSWs. And we also generally do the therapy while laying horizontally on a bed with the patient. Most of us would want to get paid most all of our regular rate. But some might give a discount for that. Just checking in to make sure no one has broken our non-disclosure agreement. I used to have a regular who paid me to clean my home, which I worked out of, twice a week. Dressed in a maid outfit. No interaction. No nothing. Interacting with him in any way ed with his vibe. He had this whole ongoing headcanon about what I did with my other clients based on how furniture, toys and objects had moved. The laundry in my baskets and so on and so forth. And that was what he wanted to jerk it to in the privacy of his own home. My friend is an SSBBW and travels across the country for men who pay her to just plop on them. No sex. Just get up as high as she can and plop down on him. Not a sex worker. But when I was a waiter some lady offered me $400 to suck on my feet. Semicolon. I declined. She did not seem ashamed or put off. The most fun was easily being eaten out for 45 minutes. Second most fun was snuggling for an hour. An ex-girlfriend of mine who also worked for fun in a brothel told me they had one customer who always wanted to have a shower together with her. With cold water. She charged €100 extra for that. I live in Vietnam, not a sex worker. A few years back when I was more of a partier I was out drunk at like 6 AM and came across a nice looking hooker. I took her for some noodles because I was hungry and she was psyched for a meal. Had a guy who once just asked me to roll around on the ground and make link noises for a minute on video. That was fun. Had another guy who asked for a 30-minute video of me just eating gummy bears. Not topless or anything. My favorite was my deal with the local pizza guy. I'd send him X amount of nudes and he'd give me free pizza. Put cocaine on an outrageously large strap-on on his ass. Clever way for OP to find some hookers. Had a friend who was a cam general in college. She'd tell me stories all the time. My favorite was the one where she was taken private and got to brutally insult this dude's micro penis. And boy do I mean micro. Thing was maybe 2 inches fully erect. She sent me pictures so I could also make fun of him. I didn't. Because it gave me secondhand disappointment. Damn straight you didn't do it. There's people that pay good money for that and you're gonna do it for free. I am a cop and one time during a bust I had to do all the paperwork for the working girls and I asked something similar to one girl I was familiar with. She gave me two instances that stood out. First was a fairly wealthy guy who had the girl go into a pet store and buy 3 goldfish. His request was for her to take each goldfish out of the bag, one by one, and feed it to him live. But only after she rubbed it all over her breasts. Second was this older guy would pick her up. She was then supposed to exit the car and he would chase her around it. After a short chase she was to turn and grab him. He would lay down on the ground and open a clear umbrella and she was to squat over it and pee. Both scenarios paid between $200 and $500 and I 100% believe she was telling the truth during our conversation. Nice try, FBI. Excellent attempt at obscurity. Back in South America I once had a client pay me to wear lederhosen and yodel deep into his anus while he sang Edelweiss naked on all fours. I think he was some big shot Nazi war criminal. He stopped coming back after a few years. Oh. Alright. Well. First, I want you to tongue my bung, while you juggle my balls in one hand, and play with my arsehole with the other. But don't stick your finger in. Then I want to pinky you while I stick in your friend's brown, while Silent Bob watches, and spanks it in a Dixie cup. After that, I want to smell your titties for a while. And you can pull my nutsack up over my dick so it looks like a bullfrog. Then I want you to inflict my nuts while your friend spanks me off in the same Dixie cup that Silent Bob jizzed in. Then, we throw the Dixie cup out. J. A poet on his own. Not a sex worker, but I recently had someone email me asking to step on bugs on his PRN site. Tech support? Not a sex worker. But if I was. I'm not a sex worker, but last week I had a really good burger and I can't stop thinking about it. Remember folks? Along with all these cute, funny, interesting stories, there were dozens of guys that just wanted her to take a load of cum down her throat. Pee on a bed that Obama slept in. To go for a drive out into the woods where he would pretend to kill me and leave me in a pile of leaves. That's too specific for me, chief. An older fellow booked me for a 2-hour session. Seemed really sweet until he asked to lick my armpits. I mean, that doesn't seem as bad as a lot of other things he could have asked for.